I hope you are enjoying this series of Python. Till now, we have learned about how to set up Python, how to create data types, what are data types, and how to handle variables. Today, we are going to learn something very interesting. We are going to learn how to take input from user. And this is really nice thing because it gives a good confidence to developers that okay, from now onwards, I can work on the data given by users. Correct? So let's learn that. In order to learn it, what do I need to do? I need to open Python IDLE. So I'll open Python IDLE here. And now when this Python is in front of me, what I will do, I'll just first zoom it a little bit so that you can see the text clearly. And now what I'll do, I will now start taking input from user. How? It's very simple. I will write a function named input. Perfect. When you want to take input from user, you have to write input. And it is a function. That is why what you will do, you will put a bracket in front of it. So input, that's all. Press enter. Now when you press enter, you can see the cursor is blinking. When it's blinking, this means what? This means that it's demanding a value from user. So now what I'll do, I'll give it a value. So I am giving it my name and press enter. It printed what it received in input. So it received Yogendra Pal, hence it's printed Yogendra Pal. What is that? That's a string. How do I know? By looking into the quotes. Correct? Please note, when I was providing the input, I didn't use quotes. But still, when it's printed it is automatically putting that into quote. That means it's receiving only strings. Let's try to give an input again. So I will write input, brackets, enter. It's asking for an input. Now I am giving it a number, 5. Press enter. It printed it back, but it's printing it in a string. How do I know? By looking into the quotes around 5. So that means even if I am giving a number, still it's considering it as a string. This means if I want to take an integer, it's not directly possible. I have to further process it. Fine, we'll look into it in few minutes. Let's now look into what happens to this 5. Let's say I take this name, I take this 5 input from user. Now what? We lost that. How will I use it? In order to use it, we need to use what? Variables. And that is why I covered variables first before this tutorial. This time I will take a variable x and I will say that initialize it with the value provided by users. So I will take input from user and whatever I receive in input, that will be stored in x variable. Perfect. Press enter. Obviously it will blink because it's waiting for the value and I am giving it a value this. Press enter. This time it didn't print it back. Why? Because this time it receives the input and it stores that value in x. So now x has what? String Yogendra Pal. Press x. So I want to print the value of x. See? Perfect. Similarly, if I want to receive a number, I'll say input, bracket, press enter. This time I am giving 5. Enter. X has what? 5. Let's print the value of x. What will I get? 5. But 5 is again a string. It's not an integer yet. So I hope things are clear until this point. How to take input? Simply by writing the input function. Then how to store that in a variable? Simply by saying that the variable value will be equal to input. Now, let me just clear this screen and this time what I want to do, whatever I receive from user, I will try to convert that into an integer so that I can use it in my program. So I'm taking a variable a and I am taking a value from user. Press enter. The value is given by user which is 10 and 10 is stored in a. So let's print a A has value 10. Now, I told you how you can convert string to integer, isn't it? How? Simply by saying integer, bracket, and whatever you want to convert into integer, you have to pass that value here. What do I want to convert to integer now? The value of A. So I will write A here, and that's all. When I print and when I press enter, what happens? The value of A converted to integer, and it's visible here. How do I know that it's a integer? It's not a string. Very simple. Strings have quotes. Numbers don't. Correct? So 10 is an integer. Very nice. Similarly, so we have already done that. Now what I will do, can I do this operation in one round alone? Right now, it's converted to integer and I took input in another line. Can I combine both? Can I say that I will convert to integer whatever I receive in input? So I'm passing input inside integer. This. How will it solve now? It will try to solve input first. So it will receive an input and that value will be sent to integer function. That means it will be converted to integer. Let's press enter. I am giving 10 now. Press enter. 10 is converted to integer and then printed here. This time you can see it's printing as 10 as integer, not as a string. Perfect. But again we made a mistake. The mistake is that we lost this value. Where is this value? How will I use it? I didn't store it in any variable. This time I will store it in a variable. So let's make a variable I. Let's take a input from user and convert this input into integer. Is it correct? So I'm taking an input from user and then I'm converting that into integer and finally storing that converted value to I. Perfect. What I'll do, press enter. Let's enter 10. I holds value of 10. Similarly, I am creating J. I want to convert a value to integer. Which value? Whatever is given by user in input. Press enter. Let's take 20 this time. So now J holds what? 20. So now I has 10, J has 20. Can I add them? Yes, we have seen it. So I plus J will become what? 30. Perfect. So that is how you can take a input, then convert that into an integer and then finally store it in a variable and then start using it in your program. You can further store this value also into a variable. That's, I think you already know about it. We have seen it yesterday. See? And if I print the value of k, it will be 30. Done. There is one problem. The problem is that when I am taking an input and pressing enter, it's not telling me why it is waiting. What does it want? Program must tell user that why it's waiting. User is supposed to do something, then give clear instructions to the user. So right now, the instructions are not given. How will you give instructions to user? When you are creating the input function, you also pass a message for users. So I am saying, please give a number, colon space. Now I am passing a message to user. When I press enter now, it will present the message and then wait for the value, wait for the input. It's a much better way. So let's enter any number. Fine. Now I do not need to tell you that I need to put this input into an integer if I want to take an integer. So what I'll do, I will put this entire thing as input. Then I'm saying, please give a number, colon space double quote, enter. Now when I give 6, it's now taking it into integer. Nothing new. Okay, I'm just taking the input and putting that into integer so that it converts to integer. That's all. Nothing else. Finally, we have seen all these things. all you have to do is write your messages like this. So when you are taking any value like this, then also pass a value, enter a number. Okay, so when I give 5, it's stored in I. Similarly, when I am taking another input and storing it in J, then it will store that in J, and finally when you are printing the sum of it, it will work. So this program is much better compared to if we directly write input. So the way we are converting any received input into integer, the same way we can convert any received input into float, Boolean, isn't it? You know that. But still, let's see some examples of it. So I am asking user about something. Let's say I am saying x equal to integer, not integer, sorry, this time bool. Okay. So I am saying, is it true? I want to ask this value. I want to pass, is it true, by putting that into input. Correct? Here. So first I give input. So it will print a message, is it true? And then passing that into Boolean. Press enter. So now it's saying 1. So it receives 1 as a string, then passing that into Boolean. So trying to convert that into Boolean. So what will be the value of x now? Obviously true. We have seen it briefly. Correct? Similarly, if I try to convert this value, I am saying y equal to, this time I will convert that to float. Any input that I receive, this time I am not passing any value. You can do it on your own. Correct? So let's take any value 9.8. Then y stores what? 9.8. And I do not need to tell you that if I am giving this type of statement where input is converted to float, and if I am giving a wrong string that cannot be converted to float like this, then obviously there will be an error. Correct? That is why giving a message to your user that what type of value are you looking for is very important, and also error handling is also important. That we will learn in our coming tutorials. So for the input, this is good enough. Now what I suggest that you try it, you write your own program and you try to convert that into integer, you try to convert that into float, convert the input into something else, try to do some operations like plus, minus and all. And then we will meet tomorrow where we will also learn some arithmetic operations, plus, minus, into division and whatever are there reserved in Python only. So we'll see, we will meet again tomorrow. I hope you are enjoying this series. Thank you very much.